Hello and welcome back everyone, MoonStar here. And today we're diving into a story that's been a roller coaster of, well, mostly downs, if I'm being honest. We're talking about Tribe 9, a game that had a spark of potential, a flicker of hope, and then gone. Now, some of you might remember that eventful launch. Others might have heard the whispers, the rumblers of discontent that followed, and just recently the final nail in the coffin, the end of service announcement. It's a tale as old as time in the gacha world, or at least it feels like it sometimes. But this one's got some particular lessons baked into its unfortunate demise. Lessons that, frankly, a lot of companies out there could stand to learn, but sadly they don't. So grab your favorite drink, get some popcorn, settle in, because we're going to dissect the rise and spectacular fall of Tribe 9, and why its story is a cautionary tale for the ages. So, let's rewind to the beginning, the launch. You know how some games have a smooth launch? Like a perfectly executed skateboard trick? Me neither. But tell me in the comments below if you happen to know or heard of one. Tribe 9's launch was more like tripping over the board, face planting, and then the board somehow catches fire and falls on your head. From day one, players were hit with a barrage of issues. We're talking game-breaking bugs, constant crashes, servers that seemed to be powered by a potato, and loading screens that felt longer than a Lord of the Rings marathon. Remember that official support page? That one titled Errors, Crashes, or Frozen Screens during gameplay? That wasn't just a helpful FAQ, folks. That was practically the game's unofficial slogan for a while there. The Steam forums were a war zone. Feedback threads like the one started by Tribe 9 Antonio were overflowing. Players were frustrated, and rightfully so. Issues like abysmal SSR rates, the scarcity of vital in-game currency, like enigmas, exploration feeling unrewarding, the infamous mouse cursor bug, the list went on and on. It wasn't just a few minor hiccups either. It was a systematic failure to deliver a playable and enjoyable experience right out of the gate. It almost felt like Monokuma himself placed his paw on the game and created all the chaos and despair for his enjoyment. In the cutthroat world of gacha games, first impressions are everything. And I do mean everything. You mess that up, and you're already fighting an uphill battle, on an unicycle, with no pants either. It was, to put it mildly, a huge and awful launch. Now, amidst this dumpster fire, something unexpected happened. Something that we, as gacha players, rarely ever see. The developers apologized. And I mean really apologized. We've all seen those non-apology apologies from gacha companies, right? We're sorry you feel that way. We regret any misunderstanding we might caused. Or we tried to scam you when we got caught in 4K. But Tribe 9, to their credit, actually owned up to it. The director's letter, specifically the one around March 6th, 2025, was pretty direct. Soejima, the director, straight up said, "I'd like to apologize for not being able to properly introduce them due to the need to quickly implement these updates." They acknowledge specific player frustrations, like the Fractal Vice exploration and the difficulty in unlocking level caps. They even said, and I quote, "Players may have had a poor gameplay experience. We apologize for any inconvenience." This wasn't just lip service either. They talked about adjustments to the battle tempo, addressing the lag, and even buffing melee units. There was a sense, for a fleeting moment, that maybe, just maybe, they were listening, that they understood the depth of the community's frustration. Some YouTubers and community figures were even cautiously optimistic. It was, by Gacha standards, one of the better apologies we've seen. They admitted they messed up, and they took accountability, which is rare in this industry, and for that, you got to give them a little credit. A very little small credit, though, because as we all know, an apology are just words. It's the actions that follow that truly matter. And oh boy, those future actions leave a lot to be desired, let's just say. So they apologized, points for that. But then what? Well, despite the apology and the promise of improvement, the game continued to be plagued by problems. The bug reporting threads on Steam, like the one updated after the February 20th maintenance, were still active. Players were still encountering soft locks, crashes, and general lack of polish. It felt like they were playing whack-a-mole with the bugs. Fix one and two more would pop up. And it wasn't just technical issues either. There were ongoing concerns about the core gameplay loop, the gacha raids, and the overall direction of the game. Updates were sometimes pushed back, as noted in some communities' discussions and YouTube videos around April 2025. The initial goodwill generated by the apology started to erode. It's like that friend who says sorry for being late all the time, but then keeps showing up late every single time. Eventually, that apology just doesn't cut it anymore, right? This is where the crucial lesson starts to emerge. An apology can buy you some time, some patience from the players, but if it's not backed up by consistent, tangible improvements and a clear commitment to fixing the core problem, that patience will run out. And it ran out hard for Tribe 9. The sentiment in many parts of the community shifted from cautious optimism back to frustration, and then for many to apathy. And apathy, my friends, it's often the true killer of a live service game. Now, let's talk about how a bad launch can be remedied actually, because it's not impossible. Look at a game like Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves also had a rocky start, didn't it? And I do mean a mountain rocky start. Technical issues, performance problems. Players definitely had their share of complaints, myself included. The Reddit mega threads and even IGN articles about launch issues were buzzing everywhere. But here's the difference. While Wuthering Waves developers also apologized and offered compensation, which, let's face it, it's pretty standard crisis management and standard damage control in Gachaland, they followed it up with swift, noticeable actions and communications. They addressed the feedback, they pushed out patches, and players could see the game improving. It wasn't perfect overnight, no game ever is, but there was a clear trajectory of improvement. They were actively working to earn back players' trust, not just with words, but with demonstrable results. And it worked. 2.0 did just that. It made me and a lot of other players come back to the game. This is where Tribe 9 dropped the ball so spectacularly after that initial decent apology. A bad launch can be a setback, a really, really bad one, but it doesn't have to be a death sentence. Wuthering Waves is an example of a game that, despite its own stumbles out of the gate, managed to listen, adapt, and work through fixing its problems, thereby retaining and even growing its player base. A truly Dave's Listen moment. Tribe 9, well, they had the apology, but the follow-through felt like they were trying to patch a sinking ship with sticky notes. The continued fuck-ups after that initial apology weren't just detrimental, they were, as we now know, fatal. And so, we arrive at the present day where Tribe 9 made their end of service announcement. November 27th, 2025. The day Tribe 9 officially bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust, and another one gone, and another one gone, another one bites the dust, yeah.
The official announcement came, as these things often do, with a mix of regret and carefully worded corporate speak. We deeply regret to inform you, service for Tribe 9 will be terminated. And after carefully consideration, we have made the difficult decision to end the game's service because we are too dumb and didn't know how to properly manage it. They even confirmed that Chapter 4 of the story, which was previously announced, is now cancelled. Unreleased characters like Ichinose Akiba and Saizo Akiba? Gone. Never to see the light of day ever again. All future updates, new content, even previously announced fixes, all scrapped as May 14th, 2025. It's a brutal and unceremonious end for a game that, despite its many flaws, some people had invested time and yes, money into. So in respect for Fobmaster and the rest of them, let's pour one out for them.
Are you all right, Colonel?
Yeah, I'm fine. Except, it's a terrible day for rain.
What do you mean? It's not raining.
Yes, it is.
Oh, so it is. Why don't we head back? It's getting chilly out here.
And this, my friends, is the ultimate lesson Tribe 9 leaves us with. A bad launch, as we discussed with Weathering Waves, can be overcome with genuine effort, transparent communication, and actual tangible improvements, but a bad launch followed by a continued series of missteps, a failure to truly address core issues despite a decent apology, and an inability to retain players' trust, that's a recipe for disaster, my friends. It's a harsh reminder for every game company out there. Your players are not indefinitely patient. Well, unless your company is named Hoyoverse, then your players were going to wait for a long time and still not get anything. An apology is a start, not a free pass. You have to earn back their faith with every single update, every single decision. Tribe 9's journey from a hyped new release to an end-of-service announcement is roughly 9 months. This shows that even if you have a potentially interesting IP, even if you have some cool ideas, if the execution is fundamentally flawed and the recovery efforts are insufficient, the market will be unforgiving and will eat you alive. The Gacha graveyard is listed with proof of a lot of games that learn this lesson the hard way. Tribe 9 is just its newest resident. So, there you have it. The sad, cautionary tale of Tribe 9. From a launch that can only be described as a spectacular faceplant, to a genuinely decent apology that offered a sliver of hope, only to quickly be snuffed out, to finally culminating in the end of service announcement. It's a story all too known for gacha players. A story that underscores a critical truth in the gaming industry, especially for live service in gacha games. You can't just launch and pray. You can't just apologize and expect forgiveness without sustained, meaningful action. Player trust is hard-earned and easily lost. And while a bad launch can sometimes be remediated, as we saw with Weathering Waves example, a continued pattern of fumbling after that bad launch is often a one-way ticket to the digital graveyard. But hey, that's just my take on it. as your friendly neighborhood Foxboy VTuber who played over 40 gachas over 11 years, and during that time, just like a supreme god of gachas, I have seen sorry about this. I don't know how you can keep that straight face when you say that, Tuhu, cause I sure can't. Anyway, back to what I was going to say. I saw a lot of gachas rise and fall during that time. What do you all think? Were you a Tribe 9 player? What were your experiences? Do you agree with my assessments? What other lessons do you think companies should take away from this? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And hey, if you found this deep dive interesting or helpful, maybe consider giving this video a like. And if you want more gachas analysis, gachas reviews, and generally anything gacha related and anime related, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks for sticking with me through this one, everyone. Until next time, stay foxy and may your gacha pools be blessed.